Okay, welcome everyone to Gaming. How can it be dangerous? We have, I can't tell for sure, but at one point there was about 15 people, but they're still coming on that are online. And for folks that are online, there are people, 5 people in the room here with a couple more expected to come. So it's going to be interesting to see how this works. We always hope that technology does what it's supposed to because it can help a lot of folks. But to start off with, I want to tell you a little bit about myself. Many of you know me already, but just want to give some background. I have been at Helping Services for over 30 years. I have been a mentoring coordinator for 25 of those years. And for 27 of those years, I've been what's called a certified prevention specialist. And that's someone who proves that they have competency in knowing information and being a resource for any kind of drug and trends and resources for people. So that's a little bit about me. I live outside of Decorah. I have 3 grown kids and 4 grandkids. And yeah, that's a bit about me. Now we're going to do something that'll be real interesting to see how it works, to kind of get to know who you guys are. We're not going to go around and you say who you are, but I'm going to read a statement. And if it fits you, I want you to raise your hand and say, that's me, or call out, that's me. And virtually you can do those things as well, or put something in the chat if you would like to. And Jen, if you can just help out, Jen Stoka is the supervisor for mentoring. She's kind of the person that's checking everything online. And if you can kind of give me an idea of what's happening online, because I can't see that right now. So the first statement that I'm going to read is, I am a college student. So I know there are some online. I can see that people are responding.
Yep, we got a few hand raises.
Yeah, that's cool. All right. I am a parent. And in the room, everybody's hand is up, including mine. How are we doing online with that one?
Some, yep.
Some, great.
Some.
Great. Yeah, and I bet it's hard to figure out like how many people have just responded.
Yes.
And then 2, I'm a mentor. We've got 1 in the room here.
1 hand raised online.
Awesome.
Gary, oh, Katie. Got 2.
All right.
Anna's a mentor for a day.
Awesome. Very good. And I am a person who cares about youth. Yeah. And there's, oh, look at this. There's 4, 5, 6 people, yep. 7, 8. Keep going. That's good. We hope that one would be one that would be popular. Okay. I enjoy walking. My dog likes it when I walk too. How are people online for that? Yeah, 9 people like that. Yep. I enjoy fishing. I really do. And yep, about 5 people responded online for that one. And I enjoy gaming. I'm a solitaire person. Yeah, see, it's gaming too. Yep. And there's about 5 people that responded to that. So I am ready to learn about gaming and how it can be a concern. All right.
Hand raised, yes.
That is where we are headed tonight, and there are still people popping on, so Jen's going to keep busy as we go here. And just folks online, you can unmute yourself as you wish. You can be seen by your video, however you're comfortable. And folks in the room too. If you don't feel like talking tonight, you don't have to. But if you have questions or concerns, or even this has been my experience that you want to share, we really want you to do that. So we always have to start off with the commercial for youth mentoring. We work with the Iowa Department of Health and Human Services. We have a grant with them that they ask us to do 8 trainings per year on substance abuse prevention issues. And when we do those, we always give our commercial. Basically, that idea that mentors can be anyone that enjoys spending time with children, that is a positive adult role model. And our youth are between 6 and we've just changed this recently, 17. So that's very exciting. We serve Almaquee, Delaware, Clayton, Howard, Winneshiek, and Southern Fayette now. And some of you, especially say some of the people online might be going, oh, Clayton, I've not heard that before. South Fayette, I've not heard that before, because those are new to us. So we're pretty excited about that. We have a grant with the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention. It's a federal grant, and they're allowing us to expand. So we're pretty excited about that. Jen, anything else that you want to share about youth mentoring? Or I don't know if Colleen is on, if she wants to share anything.
No, it's just a great that we get to expand and serve more kids with our new funding and continue to build our community-based, school-based, and after-school mentoring programs. We have a great group of coordinators. So,
yeah, great. So we are always looking for more mentors. So if that's something that anyone is entertaining, it's a minimum of 4 hours a month. It's not a hard thing to do. It's a great way to volunteer. We had kids at the bowl-a-thon this weekend that, oh my gosh, that one little boy got a spare. You would have thought that heaven had opened its gates and he was the most excited person in the world, because he was on cloud 9. And giving mentees those new experiences is a lot about what we do. So moving on, some things that we're going to cover tonight. We're going to be talking about gaming and how that's kind of evolved from where we are today. We're also going to look at the difference between gaming and gambling. Also, what can gaming lead to? And there's a lot of information that we've gathered related to that. You're going to meet a new Jack and Jill. They are not going up any hill, but they're in today's world, and a lot of kids are gaming nowadays. And 2, we're going to look at ways that parents can monitor gaming, but also ways that people who care about youth, like all of us said we do, can ask questions about monitoring and how that's happening in households. And then, of course, there's always resources that we're going to share. So the one thing that I really want to start off with when we start getting into this is the idea that we are not saying gaming is wrong. We are not saying you should never do this. Gaming can be fun. It can be something that's a social thing for folks. Just like anything that we enjoy doing, it's great when it's a balance in our life. When it becomes something that overtakes your body and your emotions and your relationships and your interactions with people, that's when it becomes dangerous. So we really want to emphasize that idea that we're not negative about gaming. Just like anything else, we want people to be cautious, and bottom line, we want them to be healthy. So that's what we're looking for. Now here's Mr. Jack. He's a 2nd grader. And you can see from this little scenario that's on here that he got a new game called Roblox, and he's enjoying doing that. He spends a lot of his time in this game, and he buys what's called loot boxes. And if you're not familiar with that, that's something we'll describe more, but it can either cost money or not cost money, but it helps him so that he can keep playing at the levels that he wants to get to. So that's little Mr. Jack. And as we get through this information, first, I want you to just think right now, concerns you have or things that you're kind of going, there's a little rumble here. There's a little something that I should maybe be concerned about. And keep his information in mind, because we're going to come back to him and look at how we can help him, because we're going to learn some ways along the way. So that's Jack. Then there's Jill, and Jack and Jill are not the same age. Jill's a high schooler, and she's found a different kind of game called Bovada, where she, at her age, should not be allowed to be in that game, but she said she was 18. And that's often the case with some gaming systems, that you just have to click a box or just say, make up your year that you were born. And as long as it fits their criteria, then you are allowed to play that game. She really is, she's enjoying playing these games, having a good time. Others are telling her within the gaming system that she's doing really great. So this kind of ends with that question of what could be a problem with Jill. And if anyone wants to share anything about either Jack or Jill that might be concerns at this point, we can hear those, or you can just keep them in mind. It's up to you. Who's anybody feeling like they want to share anything related to either of those situations? And online, sometimes people type, but we'll
Nothing
see.
in the chat yet.
Okay, well, we're just going to keep them in mind. And later on, I'm going to ask you to help. So at this point, let's just kind of remember that. One of the things that was really profound in doing research for this training was the difference of male and female use. And this is information from the 2021 Iowa Youth Survey, where the question was asked for 6th, 8th, and 11th graders in 2021. In the past 30 days, have you spent money on in-game or in-app purchases to extend your play? And looking at these counties, you can see that we put in all the counties that we serve in mentoring except for Howard. And the reason for that was in 2021, there's no Iowa Youth Survey data available, partially because they were coming out of COVID. And also there's only 2 school systems in Howard County, and they may not have been up to that because of COVID and things, knowing their students and everything. So there isn't any data that we have for that. But looking at all these other counties, this is really profound because it shows almost half. In other words, the boys are doing twice as much gaming as the females are, or at least this particular question. We also have heard from researchers that if the question was related to social media, which one do you think's higher, male or female? Just use of social media.
Female.
Yeah, it's going the other direction. So females are more getting into social media, and the males are getting, in this particular case, this data shows just they're spending money on those things. So looking at gaming throughout the years, in the early years of gaming happened in the science labs. It was scientists trying to figure out these huge computers that took up most of the room to play tic-tac-toe and chess and even combat, like war games kinds of things. And then there was an evolution process that there was a gentleman named Ralph Baer, who's known as the father of video games. In 1960, or in the 60s, 67 actually, he invented the first multiplayer, multi-game video game system. And that changed everything because it could be at people's fingertips and in their households. So things really changed at that point. And in the upper right-hand corner, no, it's the left-hand corner of the this particular slide, it shows a picture of the Odyssey, which was developed by Magnavox in 1972. And people who are older, either online or in the room, know Magnavox as a person or an entity that created televisions. And here they were getting into gaming, realizing that it could be something that could help them. And they were the ones that first inspired Odyssey, inspired the game Pong. How many of you have heard of that? Yeah, how many of you have played that? I loved Pong. And so that was one of the most early games that people could play either at an arcade or at their home. And when it became part of their home, things just changed. So there's certainly been an evolution since then with gaming systems that have multiplayers, that you can play with people in the room, multiplayers, but you can play people that are across the country playing on systems. And then, of course, there's virtual reality, which is something I didn't know much about. I was taught it by more information about it from a youth in our theater group, that she put VR on her things she likes to do. And I was like, what's that? And so we can always find out more from the youth, and they'll tell us as much as they're able to. So things really, really have changed throughout the years. And we don't even know what's happening in, some the gaming industry now. It's an evolution process. So it's something that can move and evolve. So getting into the meat of things here with how can gaming be dangerous? One of the top things that's really important to talk to youth about is the idea that you are playing with strangers sometimes, and often playing with strangers. And I remember the first time when I went into a mentee's home, and they were on their device, and they were like, well, I'm talking to so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so, and they were all in different states. And I was like, does your mom know you do this? That was my first question. Oh yeah, she's okay with it. And at that point, there weren't as many monitoring systems, but thank goodness that some of those have come through. But we really want to make sure that youth understand the idea that a person could say that they're 15, like you are, or that they live in your town, or they live next door, but they could be someone much older that has the concept that they want to be harmful to a youth. So you really need to make sure that those youth that you care about understand playing with strangers can be so dangerous. There's also financial ties to games. We talked about the loot boxes. There are ways that you can actually get your credit card into access to the credit card, and ask for new devices or new skins or new things for a character to do. And at our training that we did like this in March 12th, a parent shared with us that her child had created a bill of $3,000 without her knowledge, that she was really concerned that not only was there that much money and how was she going to pay it, but I've got to talk to my child about this. This is a lot of money, plus this is a lot of gaming. And so the youth really, they knew that they had access to the credit card, but was there a discussion of boundaries? Was there a discussion of how much this can be used? Or did the youth even realize every time they click something that it costs money? So another thing that's very interesting is there can be coping, it can be a coping mechanism. And one of the things that we're going to talk about a little bit later on is isolation and depression. One of the researchers that we had a training with, he said it's really interesting it's difficult to say isolation and depression can cause people to cope with that, to do gaming, or is gaming causing isolation and depression? And there hasn't been a lot of research that shows either way is correct. So we need to be aware of that. And one of the things too, like we said earlier, gaming can be a coping mechanism to help people just be like, geez, I had a terrible day. I'm just going to do this for a little bit and get that over with. And now I'm going to go and walk my dog and go fishing. You know, I'm going to do those things that I enjoy. But there's the other side of it when somebody's in their room constantly with the door closed, you don't see them for hours, and you see that their mood has really changed. So limiting screen time, some parents can say, now, Kathy, I only want you to be playing solitaire for 3 hours a day. Now, Lori, my sister, she would need a higher limit than that. I mean, she'd need less time. Because she would get way into it. And so kids are different, they're wired different. That's where we need to know our kids and be talking to them and limiting screen time, and sometimes having screen time be a consequence for behaviors or what's happening. So, and then too, there can be the development of internet gaming. So a statistic that I found in some of my research that I think is really interesting is 90% of American teenagers play video games. I don't think that's a surprise to any of us. 3/4 of all American households have at least one gamer who plays for an average of 6 hours a week. And that information is from the Avera Addiction Center. So I thought that was kind of interesting to hear that. Now we are going to play a video, and it is going to work correctly. At least that's my goal. And there it's popping up, so that's good.
If you play video games and you have these 3
Can you guys
signs,
see it online?
pay attention.
Yes.
You might have a gaming problem. The 3 signs I'm going to share with you today come from the World Health Organization's classification called gaming disorder. Now, this is not medical advice, and if you are concerned about your gaming, seek the help of a professional. Sign number 1. Impaired control over gaming. If you're no longer in control of your gaming, if you're not able to reduce or moderate your play, then that might be a sign you have a gaming problem. Often individuals will say they're still in control, gaming's not taking over their life, yet they can't reduce it. They can't take a day off. They can't take a week off. They have to play, and they have to keep playing more and more. So if that's you, pay attention. Gaming needs to be in control, not out of control. Sign number 2, increasing priority given to gaming over other interests and activities. When someone has a gaming issue, gaming becomes the priority. You prioritize gaming over things like homework or going to work, spending time with loved ones, and many other normal activities that would be a part of your day. Gaming's more important to you than things that you need to do for your daily functioning. Now, this sign alone doesn't mean you have a gaming issue, but in combination with signs 1 and 3, it's definitely something you need to pay attention to. Remember that if gaming is a hobby, then it doesn't need to be a priority. And it's a key distinction you can make when you're evaluating your day and your week. Sign number 3. Continuing to game despite the occurrence of negative consequences. If you're playing video games and you're just having fun, you're being social, you're having a laugh, it's no big deal. But if you're continuing to play despite the fact that the world around you is completely falling apart, then that might be a sign you have an issue. If it's affecting your school grades, your work performance, you don't want to get a job because you just want to stay home and play video games all day. If it's increasing conflict with family or a loved one, you've lost motivation to do anything else. You're irritable and moody, and you just want everything else to go away because you just want to play. If your life is falling apart, yet you're continuing to play video games more and more and more, then that's definitely something to pay attention to. To recap, the 3 signs are impaired control over gaming, gaming being a priority over everything else, and continuing to play despite the occurrence of negative consequences. Now, if you're watching this and you're nodding along and you're realizing, wow, this is me, I might have a gaming issue, then that's okay. Help is available and you are certainly not alone. One of the first steps that you can take is you can go to gamequiz.com and take the quiz on the homepage. The quiz will help you better understand how gaming is impacting your life and the next steps you can take to get back in control. Remember, there's so much more to life than video games.
All right, that was Josh. He is a former gamer. He has so many stories to tell. I listened to a lot of videos and he really had a wonderful attitude, which is something that I enjoy. His information is from the World Health Organization. So he had those 3 distinct things, and we're going to hear a little bit different version of how the gaming disorder is identified. This is from the DSM, mental health disorder diagnostic statistical tool. I had to look up what that's meant. I was like, what? And then I have it on my screen. I'm so happy to say. Yeah. Yeah.
We have a question in the chat.
Great.
Just some clarification on what sort of devices are included for this concept of gaming, meaning phones, iPads, computers, gaming platforms, PlayStation, etc. included?
Yeah, because anybody can game on any kind of device. So yeah, gaming in any form, if it's like what Josh said, if it's having those 3 criteria, that's a concern. The way that you do it or the device that you use includes any way that you can get access to that. Was that what the question was about?
Yes.
Okay.
And then the
cool.
second question, Anna wanted to see what the website was on that. I know it was a
I
YouTube.
will
Did you have
send
today?
that out. It's a YouTube video, but I will send out the Anastasia, I will send that out when I send out the video. Is that okay? It's a very good video. I like that. Okay. And I love too the way he said, pay attention. You know, if these things are happening, pay attention. So this particular slide has the 9 criteria that could be part of gaming disorder. And you go, well, he only had 3. When I go through these, you're going to hear a lot. He had 3 things, but he gave examples, and the examples are part of these 3 things. The other thing that I want you to know with internet gaming disorder and these 9 numbers is a person needs, if they have 5 of the 9, they are considered that they could be diagnosed as having gaming disorder. So it's not you have to have all of them kind of thing. So first of all, preoccupation with that. Do you spend a lot of time thinking about gaming? And especially when you're not playing, you plan when your next gaming activity will be. If you don't game, do you get irritable and restless and moody? And you really, even when you try to stop, it gets even worse. With tolerance, do you feel like you need to play more games that kind of give you more of that rush and those endorphins that help you feel like, oh, this is so satisfying? Do you seek that more? With trying to cut back and can't, that's pretty obvious what that's about. Lose interest in other things. Josh mentioned that too. If you're doing gaming just for a laugh, that's great. But if you're not walking your dog like you used to, and you're not fishing, and you're not doing those things that you enjoy because you want to game more, that can be problematic. And then to reduce participation in those particular things that you enjoy. And there's a point too and Josh mentioned this too, when you lose interest in other things. We talked about that, but realizing that there's a problem and you want to cut back, but you don't know how, or you don't know how to do it, and need some support with that. And then do you lie to family members about how much you game? where you're gaming at, and that can include what devices you're using. I know a teenager recently that their parents shared to me that they were doing a lot of things on their phone, so they shut their phone down. Guess what? They went to their iPad. And then the parent figured that out and locked that. Or gave some perimeters of when they can be gaming, but they weren't gaming for a while because they had done it too much. And that was what the parent didn't want it to be too much. And then two, it can be something that you escape. You use it as an escape mechanism instead of dealing with personal problems or dealing with situations. You're using that as an escape. And then two, lastly, the loss of relationships and jobs and kind of that motivation to continue to either work or go to school or go to class, those kinds of things. So that's looking at internet gaming disorder. And one thing we want to share again too is not everybody has this gaming disorder, but it gives you a concept of, like Josh said, pay attention.
Kathy, I have a question in the chat.
Yeah.
Have they done studies or saw the increase in endorphins?
I believe so. I think we've seen some things where they had the brain, pictures and that kind of stuff and showed different kinds of things. And when they showed Mario, the kids' brain cells went boo 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 boo. And when they showed a cat, it didn't. And so, yeah, I think there have been studies that showed that. And I want to share too, I know when I first heard about gambling disorder, I thought, no, wait a minute. There's no chemical that comes in that person's body. How can this be? Because I knew that alcohol, you put something in, nicotine, there's something in your body, any kind of drug, you put it in your body. What's the deal? Well, addictions can happen without something chemically going into your body, but there is a process in your brain that releases some of those endorphins and keeps that high going. And there can be addictions to many things where there's shopping addictions, there's addictions related to sexual kinds of things and that. So there's a lot of things that can happen. So does that help that person kind of understand that? I hope so. Okay. And this next slide just kind of gives us a sense that the younger that a person starts, either gaming or gambling, it leads to that they could have problems later on in life, particularly with gambling. Children that are introduced to gambling by the age of 12 are 4 times more likely to develop a gambling problem. So that's kind of something to think about. And then two, this isn't gambling disorders, but it's another part of who people are that gaming can negatively impact them. For example, poor physical health. You think about a gamer is sitting on a couch, not doing much physical activity. They're not, their hygiene may not be very good because they're not paying attention to that. They may be staying up later, so they're not getting enough sleep, or not being able to go to school the next day because of that, or go to class or go to work. Diet, they're not thinking about eating their rainbow plate. And in fact, fast food is pretty common, and caffeinated products are very popular because they want to keep gaming and stay awake as much as possible. And then mood swings, that can be, there was a youth that shared in something that I looked at that said his family went to Rome on a family vacation. He had no interest in seeing anything outside of his room because he wanted to game. And I wish I could go to Rome. Yeah, It can increase anxiety and depression. And as I said earlier, there's kind of that confusing continuum that it can increase anxiety and depression for people that already had anxiety and depression. And there can be lots of things happening. And then two, we've heard several times hurting relationships. Isolation can be part of a negative impact for someone, decreased productivity. And I'm going to tie that in with motivation, just kind of that idea of that all you want to do is gain. And that's something too, thinking about the addiction process, is the host, if you will, or that thing that is your preoccupation. You have a relationship with that thing. If it's alcohol, if it's gaming, that's who you want to have your relationship. So other parts of your life suffer. Dropping hobbies, we talked about disembodiment. And I saw this and I went, what are you talking about? I want to read you something from a gamer, ex-gamer. In other words, he's not gaming anymore. He said, I felt as though I was coming out of a haze many times. I would look out the window. I can be aware of my surroundings, but my mind was in my game. I didn't live in this world. I could seriously lose myself from my surroundings. I used to wish I could just live inside my computer. That's a pretty powerful message and gives that idea that he didn't want to be where life was happening, whether there was joy or whether there was conflict in his life. He wanted to be inside his game. And then too, of course, there's the idea there's a lot of wasted time that you could be doing other things. So those are some negative impacts that happen for folks. And there is actually another video that Josh did on this that's very good, but it's fairly long. So
Kathy, Mobile Mamas would like to add cyberbullying to this.
oh,
list as
great.
well.
Yeah. Yes. Good point. Good point. And somebody in the room had a question too.
They develop relationships with those individuals that they feel more connection to than their classmates at school.
Yep.
And so there's a real motivation to be with their online friends, and school becomes even less important.
Mm-hmm. Did you guys online hear that?
No, could you repeat it, please?
Yes. Someone visited and shared that the isolation part of things, that the gamer can develop a relationship with someone in the state, in other parts of the country, and the parts of the world, they become their friends versus their classmates, and there's even less not encouragement, but motivation to go to school and have any friends there because they've got their gaming friends. Okay, so moving on, this is something that I hesitated, like, where do we put this? Because it's like, do we start with this? Where do we talk about this? And I want to read you the definition of gambling because I think it's really profound the way that this is stated. Gambling is an activity where an individual risks money or something of value on an unknown outcome in hopes of gaining something of value, either money, a prize, possessions. When you gamble, you might leave with less money or no money. So that's gambling. Now, gaming is playing on any type of electronic device, most of the time over the internet, usually with friends. And gaming often has gambling in it, whether you realize it or not. And I can testify to this because in my solitaire that I play, there's one game that you have all these levels and you open these boxes and I'm like, oh, that's a loot box. I didn't realize it before that. I thought it was just a gift. And it gave me points or would give me more cards to play, and that kind of thing. And then another thing that I played was like a hunt and seek type of game. And you would go, well, that's not gaming. Oh, yes, it is. And I realized too that I was doing pretty well with it. And there's a point where you can, look who's the best person in this game. Well, there's also an opportunity that I could share some of my things that I earned with you, Cindy. And I could send it kind of on the market and somebody could purchase it from me. And I was like, I'm not getting into that at all. And I didn't even put my score in there either, because I just thought that felt like an opportunity for somebody to possibly exploit me, and I didn't want to go there. So yeah, there's a lot of things going on. So this just gives a few examples of games that not just youth play, but folks play. And one of the things too I want to emphasize again is that many games do have age restrictions, but people figure out how to go around those. So lots of things can happen. And two, there can be like those casino type games like Jill was playing that are within another game. For example, Sam, our Delaware County person, said that she knows someone that plays Red Dead Redemption, and there's an actual casino game. They go into the saloon and play, a casino game type of thing in there, in that world. So what gambling can look like is there's social casino games, just like we just mentioned, that folks can get currency of the game. Could be coins, it could be jewels, it could be like with my solitaire, more cards, and folks can do the casino game and get those enhancements. Virtual goods are like weapons or characters that they can do more things with, character upgrades. And sometimes these are obtained through chance. Sometimes they can be not something that you pay for, and other times they can be things that you pay for. And loot boxes, like I said, is it a reward so you can win or buy them during a game, but it's all chance based, so you don't know what's going to be in there, and it can be one that you purchase or it can be one that's free. You just have to be cautious and know what you're doing. And sometimes, as I said, you can get real money for things, or you can get the game system's money source type of thing. Okay, those of you who have ever taken a training that I do, I always do a true or false. And I only have one tonight, so you're just going to have to deal with that one. So what do you think about this? According to the CDC, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, kids ages 11 through 14 spend almost 9 hours a day in front of a screen consuming entertainment media. What do you think? Is that number about right? I got shaking of heads.
They're sleeping for 8 hours.
I have all trues so far online.
And two, consuming entertainment media. I have grandkids that love looking at YouTube. It's not gambling, but yet how much screen time is it is.
So it's true.
And it is true. Yep. So we need to just, as parents, we need to be aware, as those people who enjoy kids and want them to have the best world ever. We need to be asking questions and getting to know what they're doing and preparing for this training too. My grandkids are talking about what they game. They're tired of it. They're like, Grandma, you already know, we told you. And then I asked their parents how they monitor things. And we just looked at 3 systems to get things started. Aura is parental control, cost about $99 a year. You can do a free trial to see if it's something that helps you. You can monitor your child's internet activity, easily set which websites they see and can't see. Plus, you can set time limits on phone usage, screen time, and individual apps. You can pause the internet entirely when you need to with that particular one. Family Keeper is very similar. You can track the child's location, monitoring apps, filtering content, safe surfing, limit screen time. This app runs roughly about $9 a month. And Bark runs about $5 a month or $49 a year. It gives parents more control over the child's phone, computer, and internet connected devices. Parents can block apps and websites or create screen time schedules to help keep their kids safe. Plus, monitoring texts, photos, social media, and apps for signs of inappropriate content. Depression, cyberbullying, as Mobile Mamas talked a little bit about. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Mobile Mamas, they're a group out of Cresco that have done international trainings for parents in particular, but for youth as well, to help kids be safe. And so they're an expert on this as well. So yeah, and another statistic I want to share from the CDC, 84% of parents are worried about their child's online safety. I think that's a low number, but that's what the information was. The other things that are on that white area for safer online gambling, just keep all those things in check. Check the rating of the games. Adult supervision, one of the things that we learned doing research is a youth should rarely have their system in their room with the door closed, because it's more difficult to do supervision. If they're out in the living room and playing, you can stop 5 kids and be like, hey, you need some snacks and what you doing, you know, kind of things. So that adult supervision's a little bit easier. And then too, I've heard many parents talk about that their phone is helping, their monitoring system is helping them to know what their child's doing too. But read the game's terms and conditions. Really talk to your kids about never sharing personal information. Use good sportsmanship. Never agree to meet anybody online, and report inappropriate behavior. And what I have read, I think is a good thing. If at any point a child feels uncomfortable, you should tell your child or the youth that you enjoy spending time with, stop right then when you're uncomfortable, turn off your system, go talk to an adult. Because that point of uncomfortableness is a time when we should pay attention. So in kind of getting into that idea of protecting kids from online predators, talking to them about it could happen to them. Online predators are often targeting kids who are lonely or who have low self-esteem, and it's very important to talk about this with the youth. Talk to them about any risky behaviors that they may be asked to do. If they're asked to, you know, what are you wearing? What are you not wearing? Those are things that are red flags related to risky relationships. And again, talk to your youth about that idea that if anybody says something or wants you to do something that makes you feel uncomfortable, stop right then, turn off your system and go talk to that adult. It should just be like stop, drop, and roll. You know, that's ingrained in us. We need to ingrain that into our kids. And then 2, talk about the dangers that can happen in chat rooms. If somebody ever asks you to go into a chat room, it could be just the 2 of you, and that is just danger scene. And then 2, online flirting can be kind of exciting because maybe they haven't experienced that. But they could be flirting with some person that's 65 years old and wants to exploit them. So just really be talking to your youth about what is happening, and never, ever, ever send any pictures that you don't want your classmates to see, you don't want your grandma to see, and you don't want a future employer to see, because those could be, there can be lots of ramifications to that. And then to talk about offline safety rules too. Again, you never want to meet somebody that you met online in a gaming system. Let's meet somewhere, kind of thing. That's just a written invitation for trouble. And then too, some parents want to do surveillance kinds of software. And that's something, if that gives you comfort and helps you to help your child, you can look into that. And then tell them too that you are always someone that they can talk to. Be that open person. So we're going to go back to Mr. Jack. And we're learning a few more things here that he's trying to decide today if he should keep playing or if he should go outside. And he really wants to get better at his game because his friends are good at it. He really wants to use maybe his $5 he got for allowance, but then he's going to ask his mom for more. So what do you guys think? And one thing I want to share, when I recently took a youth mental health first aid, one of the things that the facilitators asked us was, is this child in a crisis situation? And I think that's good to kind of frame things of, is this a crisis? Is this something that needs immediate intervention? Or is this Jack, is he at the point of there's some concern and we need to pay attention? Where do you think he's at here?
I think that it's some concern because he's waiting
Mm-hmm.
do I spend my $5 book there or do I use it for playing?
Mm-hmm. So someone in the room shared, there's a little bit of concern. Do other people agree with that, that it's a little bit of concern?
Online, we have needs some intervention.
Needs
We
some
think that-
intervention.
Yep, we think you should go outside and wait to save the money. There's not immediate concern, but there's a concern to watch for.
And this too, there is no right or wrong when we're helping children. I mean, as far as helping them be healthy. So that I may react to this very differently than you, Martha, may. And there isn't a right or wrong. As long as you believe that that child that you spend time with and care about, you want them to be healthy, then you need to do what's best for your situation. Okay, let's look at Jill. And she loves the feeling she gets from those online games. She thinks about it a lot when she's with her friends. And she's starting to withdraw, and friends are noticing that she's distant. What do you think? And we can think about how much of a concern this is, but what could we do to help Jill? How could we, as parents, mentors, college student that knows Jill, how can we interact with her and help her be more healthy?
We have someone said, "Hey Jill, what's going on? We miss you at the games." So just having that conversation with her.
I love that. Hey, Jill. That's great.
Another is
Good.
do device check. See if there's a debit card online. Oh, I think that's going back to Jack probably. Or I'm not sure.
Well, it could be either one.
or,
You
yeah.
see. Yeah, if she's, thinking about it a lot, she's probably doing it a lot.
Mhm.
So yeah, you could definitely check the device. Very good. One of the things I really liked about when we did this March 12th, somebody suggested that you could possibly point Jill into a career path of creating games or designing things on the computer. And I thought that was a lovely kind of way to think of it, you know, really get outside of the box. Three more things that I really, really want to emphasize too is many games have stereotypes within them. If it's gender related or race related, they can be very stereotypical. So those are things to talk to those youth that you care about. Another thing is there's often a lot of violence in the games. So talk about that. And I think we've all seen news coverage where a youth finds a gun, points it at his friend, and in the virtual game, they just plop over and they jump up 10 seconds later. Well, that's not how it works, which is the third thing. Reality versus gaming. And they can be very different, obviously. So some resources for us to be aware of. Your Life Iowa is a wonderful resource. They have a website that has great information, and you can call Your Life Iowa. You can get on their website. You can text them. You can chat them. They just have wonderful, wonderful information. Another great resource is 1-800-BETS-OFF. They have been around since 2008, and they are the experts on gaming and can give lots of wonderful resources. I'm sure there are other resources that are also available, but I think we're running real close to time. So I am going to put my information here about how to get to the evaluation. You can grab the QR code off the screen. People who are in the room, there's either pink or lavender colored paper in your folders that you have that we ask you to fill that out. And two, if you're not comfortable doing QR codes or you don't have your phone right with you, Jen's going to put that evaluation link in the chat, so you can just click right on that from the chat. We found that if people fill out their evaluation while they're in the moment, we get it versus waiting till later. So I'm going to have you go ahead and do that. And I am going to,
Sorry.
Go
It's in
ahead.
the chat for anyone online. Yes.
Oh, perfect. Thanks, Jen. And I am going to mention some upcoming trainings that we have. April 23rd, isolation and youth mental health will be from 6 to 7 p.m. That is a different time for us. This training will be absolutely phenomenal. We have had Luther nursing students working on it, and I believe this is either the third or fourth year that we have worked with the nursing students. And I can tell you that this training, when we do it, is usually the best training of the year because the students work so hard. So we want you to be on board for that. And then May 14th and May 28th, we'll be doing a training on alcohol misuse. So those are the trainings that are coming up for the year. I am going to show you my screen because it also has a QR code to register for the isolation and mental health training that's coming up. If anybody needs me to go back to the other slide, I can do that. And any questions that anybody has or comments, observations? People in this room are filling out their evaluation.
Oh, the only thing I would say, Kathy, and I'm running this in my evaluation, is that growing up, video games are just starting for me. And so it's so weird to, I mean, seem like my grandkids when you have to physically pull stuff away from them. Because like you said, they're on YouTube, and I mean, they're not watching like Barbie videos or whatever, they're watching the YouTube while their kids play. And so it's really an eye opener to see how far in just those years.
Yes, and for those of you who are online that didn't quite hear that, Cindy just shared that gaming has certainly changed over the years, that we didn't have to be as concerned about this way back when, but now you see a youth without their phone, it's kind of unusual. And that they can be getting on lots of different systems.
And I do have to add too, sometimes because of being the mentor program, when I'm with Amira, I will say, you know, she'll have the phone and I can't really see when she's in the back seat and I'm driving, but I can get in some conversations, but we always say, for sure, that phone doesn't come out when we do stuff. I said, Kathy's there and she'll take it away.
Yeah.
So it's a big deterrent, Kathy.
Yep, there you go, for the phone, please. So that was a mentor that just shared, like at mentoring events, we really monitor that. We tell the kids, you can't be on your phone. You need to be talking to people and interacting with folks, and that the mentor reiterates that too when she spends time with the youth, that it's about our time. So anything in the chat, Jen? And how are people doing on their evaluations? The people in the room look like they're either done or close to done.
There's a comment in the chat. As the adult, we need to also be aware of our own screen time. Kids copy what we do.
Yes. Thank you. That's a great comment. That's wonderful. Very, very true. All right, I think we are just a few minutes over. I'm going to stop sharing. If anybody wants to visit anymore or ask questions when perhaps not everybody's here, that's fine. I will be sharing information, the actual recording information with you, which I think I need to stop that. I think maybe when I go off, it'll stop. So, but folks are welcome to stay or to get offline. Thanks everybody for coming.